Oh my God, you're not gonna believe this. I recorded, I don't know, for 2 hours straight or something, and I had no audio. And these are multiple clips. It wasn't even like one straight through. I didn't check them in between. So I recorded some stuff the last few days, but I thought I'd just start over and like get lighting better and stuff. But holy moly, what a letdown to lose all of that. It was like really good rambling, you know me. Anyway, so I think I'll do this. I'll do quick parts. I'll do chapters. I haven't given you guys an update in ages, and a lot's happened, on top of what's happened, and no more delays. Like this is getting out of hand. So let me give you videos in quick bites. I'll call them chapters, and I'll prioritize. I'll start with the things you are probably wondering about the most. So here we go. Hello, heroes and Bignoodle community. Thanks for your patience. And sorry it's taken so long. It's just been super busy. And I think some of you know I've been doing a move. And my move is not like a house move or an apartment move. I had, until the end of the pandemic, I had a 15,000 square foot warehouse for Bignoodle, which was the name of my prior experiential marketing business. And I'll take these off because they're reflecting a lot. And that meant that I had a lot of tools, a lot of materials, furniture, all kinds of stuff that goes into having a 3-story building. That's where Bignoodle was. After the pandemic, when the landlord wanted his full rent back of 25 grand a month, I couldn't pay that, and I didn't want to stay in that business anymore. So I downsized and moved across the street. I keep looking towards the window because I could see my old building right there. So I'm in a downsized building, which never felt fully lived in because I had to fit a lot more stuff than this place can hold. So it's a lot of boxes I hadn't gone through since then. And in now moving and deciding to head back east, where I could really like shrink my cost of living and my cost of lots of things for Bignoodle, including like the network, the beginnings of the DePin. My costs are way lower there. So, but it's not easy to just pick up and go across country. I have all this stuff. So part of it is putting them in crates, getting them onto trucks, flying back to receive the trucks because there's nobody at home or like my family can't receive them for me. It's certainly not my 75 or whatever year-old mom to receive big freight off of trucks, right? Almost done, and we had a fire sale here the last few days, and that's its own job, So anyway, long story short, the move isn't a simple move. It's been weeks of work that takes me off of doing other things, but a lot's happened, and it's been days, nights, and weekends basically for a while. So it's not trying to make excuses, but that has contributed to me taking a long time with the updates. So here we go. Let's finally jump into it. So I didn't touch in with you on this, partially because I knew it would create a lot of questions that need answering so you guys are in the know, but it wasn't going to change anything. Like, it doesn't change the rails we're on or the direction we're going. And that's about the Christmas sales of glasses, the Christmas shopping season. So I don't know if I should say we missed it or we skipped it, because we did skip it. And the reason I say that is because we got to a certain point after dealing with packaging and shipping questions and basically getting all the ducks in a row to ship glasses. We got to a point where we could not get a secure answer, a real answer on how much time customs would take from China. It's one thing to get the 5 or 6 we'd order, basically an envelope shipped to us with glasses in it, and those come within 7 days. To my surprise, they come really quickly with like regular shipping. That's great. But when ordering large quantities, I really wanted to know that to go for broke and like in some ways literally the word broke, to order like a really large quantity and get it here in time. If I didn't have a real answer as to a date to receive, it got scary. I felt that it wasn't worth throwing a lot of money and a lot of effort at exactly that problem. Because if we get stuff after January, which was, or even February, which were potentials, then it's just going to throw such a wrench in the works. We could have been doing other things. So the decision that I made was, okay, we cannot get a solid answer on when we'll receive this stuff. So let's not do it. Let's not kind of go super ambitious against the Christmas deadline we were setting for ourselves, which was first week of December, so that people could get orders in and us be doing shipments starting December 15th. So I pulled the plug on that in an effort to focus on the glasses that'll go out after the new year and do it without that mad rush because I had this move coming up, right? So that's where we're at. So it was all about logistics. It was all about knowing what we can rely on and what we can't, knowing where we could personally move the meter and where we're powerless. So I think in all it was a good decision. I don't know that Christmas would have worked out for us no matter how much we tried. So I didn't bet on it. I have notes down here, so I'm going to look down every once in a while. So that's the story on the Christmas shipment. I think Walk Jive Fly was one who asked, but I'm sure it was on everybody's mind. And it's something that was tough for me because I really wanted to do a little bit of fundraise with the glasses from that round, basically. So, okay. Onward. RAMpocalypse. You guys might know that RAM is having a moment right now. The backstory is that there are 3 foundries that are the main RAM producers in the world. They are all simultaneously, and this is probably some cabal action, right? But they all are retooling to do DDR7 and beyond, all future RAM chips. And this is also surely in response to data centers, GPUs, NVMe, like all the parts that need RAM. They're gearing up. New data centers are being built. There are so many planned on the horizon. There's talk of space. There's lots of talk. But there's, everybody needs the super high bandwidth memory. And that's extremely bottlenecked with today's foundries. So they're retooling to all be able to do new types of high-speed RAM for the future to answer those needs. And what that's done to the commercial consumer industry around RAM is we just didn't know. I knew that there was going to be a RAM hike a year ago. We knew that this stuff was coming, but we didn't know what the reaction would be at the ground level. And what that means practically is, are price hikes going to be small or large? Are they going to be happening way beforehand? In preparation for a lack of RAM later? We really didn't know. And what we're seeing now is like 96 gig kits, 64 gig kits, 32 gig kits. They're not like a little more expensive. They're a lot more expensive. In some cases, we're seeing quadruple prices. I was watching one Linus Tech Tips video, and the funny anecdote there, which I think was true, was from the time they started making the video about a big gamer system or something, to the time they finished the edit to post it on YouTube, their RAM went up like 10 times the price or something like that. So in the past couple of months, RAM would have been a better investment than probably anything else. And so what does that mean to us? What that meant was I've done testing and buying and more testing of different kinds of hardware that could be our small, medium, and large DePin nodes, right? And I feel really good about all that hardware, but all that required these RAM chips to be bought and installed, right? So I've still got the vendor relationships. I've still got everything, all the ducks in a row for that type of hardware, but we don't know when RAM will come down in price. Some people are saying we're going to experience these prices, whether it's gouging or natural, straight through the 2028, right? We need kind of a hardware pivot. So I started looking into how to take advantage of hardware that had RAM prices basically priced in before all this came about. I have some experience with Second Life laptops like Lenovo's and Dell's. These are really common in the tech industry out here, and they update every year or so. So what you end up with is a ton of new hardware, sometimes very lightly used, that ends up in recyclers because Dell doesn't take them back, Lenovo doesn't take them back, or they're the recycler, in this story. And I looked into like laptops because that RAM was priced in more than a year ago, and they're soldered onto the board, so they're not getting removed and reused for something else. And then I remembered something that was really interesting from a couple of years ago. So there was something made by AsRock, and if you don't know, AsRock is also the same company called Asus or Asus Tech. These are all the same company, but they have different brands for different consumer personas, different types of customers, right? And I love them. They're great. My current laptop is an Asus. It's I think their quality is great, and yeah, they've never done me wrong. So they make Sony's PS5s. The PS5s and maybe older generations to run on AMD's APUs on Asus hardware. There's something called the BC250, and I invite you to look it up. You'll find it on YouTube. You'll find it for sale online too. And this is kind of the perfect hardware for us to launch. And I'm really I really want to launch the DePin in January. This has been kind of on my mental calendar for a while, and I don't want it to slip by. So I needed a solution for this RAMpocalypse, and and this is a great answer, and I've got some on orders. Okay, what is it? It's a single board computer made by Asus. It was meant to be the PS5, and I don't know if you remember, but the PS5, there were shortages like crazy. There was a huge demand, and Sony didn't have product to sell. So the pressure was on Asus to get product out. They put pressure on AMD. What they ended up with was a really powerful single board computer that only has inputs for power. No communications blade, like no PCI Express slot. It looks like a PCI Express card, like a GPU, but you're only giving it power on a backplane meant for server racks. So there was some pretty big batches that ended up with some hardware defects. It has to do with cooling, I think. But what they did is the 16 threads on the CPU, and every thread is a sandbox we use for agents, got limited to 12, okay? And I think because otherwise you'd hit throttling with the full 16 because of heat issues. And the APU's throttled back a little bit. So it's still a powerful GPU sitting on a CPU. That's what an APU is. It's the two combined. It's in one chip. And so it's a dialed back slightly PS5 from a couple of years ago. And there's mountains of these things. So what does that mean to us? It means each one of these boards, a single board, can run 12 sandboxes, and they're powerful enough to do light LLM work, maybe even diffusion work. So this is great. This is better than the nodes that I spec'd and have been testing. And what also works for us is the price. So they end up being, well, not end up, they start at about $100, even less. And once you add some components to it, like a 120 millimeter fan, an enclosure, these types of things. Maybe we're up near a couple of $100, but that's a really low price for this fast piece of hardware that supports 12 sandboxes. So I'm planning on our first 50 nodes in January going online based on this hardware, and then selling the out-of-the-box experience where the BIOS is updated, the firmware is updated, everything's ready to just be plug and play. And then if you want to build your own based off of this, the work's already done. You download our Docker container, you download the BIOS, you download the firmware. So, and if you want to make your own enclosure and do all that, that's great. We'll be able to transition to the other hardware, I think, when RAM is not a blocker. Because RAM just makes the ROI silly. Like, that's it. It's all about that. It's a thing of beauty. I'm happy. I'm glad it exists. I'm glad it existed. It was used for mining for a while, and the bottom fell out from whatever tokens were mined on that. So there's a lot of them available today. I on YouTube, I keep hearing about people who bought them for, like, at $60 and those kind of price ranges. So it's great. It's not great that this is secondhand and maybe some of it's beat up, but it is great that we have an option that's so low priced that's going to be able to earn maybe better. And yeah, I think the stars just aligned on this, and I feel very lucky about it. But before I fall in love with it too much, let's get it on the bench. I've got my orders placed, and those will get tested. That's the DePin, and that's going to be alive. It's part of my whole move. Where I'm ending up is a bunch of space where I'm going to be able to do whatever I want with cooling and electric and get those first 50 nodes up and running. From there, we can transition to sales. It's also a workshop where assembly can happen, and workbenches for software updates and things like that. Okay, moving on. Here's a goodie. This is probably going to be interesting to everybody who clicked on this video. It's TGE. Okay, so a little preface. Because of what's happening with Bitcoin, what's happening with the whole market, anybody I've been talking to, meaning outside money and market makers, they all said pause. But in Ethereum land, I've seen a few ICOs get oversubscribed. Now, it's hard to compare us to those ICOs because those ICOs were previously VC-backed and had a lot of money to market and create, I guess, FOMO via marketing, via community building with money in hand. So it's not apples to apples, this comparison, but knowing that they were oversubscribed in this climate is a really strong signal, right? So, so it got me thinking, and I don't want to wait longer on the TGE. It's smart to listen to people who are smarter than me, right? It's smart to trust their judgment and experience, and I'm doing that. But at the end of the day, it's our decision and my decision to maybe play it a little risky and lean back on what we have that's working for us. And what do I mean by what's working for us is a greater community that that kind of became evident to me recently. We have community. We have our lovely little Discord with our regulars and a ton of people from the Heroes days who are not regulars. But more recently, Dr. Mien, she's been doing consistently spaces on X and building a Chinese community, and she's been killing it. Her first spaces had 26,500 listeners show up, and it's just her, right? I'm not contributing because I don't speak Chinese, but she got that number by way of being part of the NAT community, the Chinese NAT community, and oftentimes being a translator. She's been a translator for Blockrunner and Benny, and she's got this credibility she's built up by being consistent and showing up, and she's reaching out to other communities, and she's been doing great with that. So let me back up and say that we come from being built on Bitcoin. We've done this with the help of Blockrunner, with the support of Blockrunner. We're DMT as native as can be, right? I got DMT pilled much harder than I got crypto or Bitcoin pilled. And that means I'm also native to Tap and Track and what Benny and his team built, right? I've always been a cheerleader for that whole bundle, right? And doing a TGE, especially in a volatile climate, on base, which is where we ended up after thinking of lots of launch pads and different chains and everything, we ended up thinking Uniswap's great, but Aerodrome on base is where we should be. And that's great. And I have no qualms with that. But thinking hard about who our actual audience is and how we're growing that audience, because we can go deeper, is right here at home with these folks, with call it a vampire attack maybe, or call it just being ourselves in the place where we've already been living, and that is Tap, DMT, NAT, all of this kind of subject matter. This is where the well is deeper than I think I knew about it, and Dr. Mian has proven it. And I think what we're looking at is doing a launch of a Tap token, staying close to home, basically, working with the audiences that we are very realistically able to reach, without kind of wondering how we're going to work with ETH KOLs or base communities, or those in Aerodrome itself. So the strategy here becomes something we can, I think, look at with a really accelerated pace, and that is to work with the folks that we realistically have reach of. I'm talking about a March 1 TGE with a Tap native token launch. That's in 2 months. In the middle of that time, February 1, there's a pre-sale, and I'll come back to why. And we're right around the corner is January 1. So January 1 begins the pumping of a pre-sale narrative. And what comes with this narrative is something that base people wouldn't understand, but we all would. The Tap, the DMT, the NAT folks would understand. And that is a narrative, and I won't get into it right now. I'm still kind of developing it, but it's been rattling around in my head for a long time, is kind of picking up where the thermodynamics conversation leaves off, that the Blockrunner guys are always pushing. And, if we measure AI compute against an agentic metric, a tools use and result metric, it looks very different than hash power. It looks very different than the trail you take from the burning of a fossil fuel or whatever, energy, let's say, through to a Bitcoin block. Like we can take that mathematic further. We start with January 1st, pumping these different narratives. We got a February 1 pre-sale, and it leads to the launch of a Tap token March 1st. Hey guys, Future Alpi here, and I just had a thought I wanted to inject about the launch on Tap token. So some of you may think, oh, that's not going to get us the eyeballs we want. And for the reasons I mentioned about our realistic reach, where our community is, where the eyes and ears currently are, I think it's a really smart way to do it with the goal of outgrowing, in a way. And I don't mean that in a bad way. What I mean by that is we get to take everybody with us when we have a new day one on a new chain, say in a year or whatever, where we've got all this traction with us. We've already been building. We've got a diehard community. And we get to show up on maybe base chain, maybe it's something else, but with a lot more fanfare and a lot more fireworks. So that's what I wanted to just drop in here. Thanks. So let me go to that February 1 presale and the reason why. So I have a lot of gratitude for everybody who showed up for the OG pass, right? I also can really appreciate. Oh, sorry, my shirt is completely dusty. I just noticed. I have a lot of gratitude for all of you who showed up. I guess it's fair to say that you bought something that you didn't get in the time you were expecting it. So I can also appreciate when in a market like this, a lot of you said, hey, I need my money back. I thought we'd launch by now, and we haven't. We keep pushing it back, but I need that money. And it's worth saying that everybody who came to me with that came with so much love, and I think maybe some embarrassment, maybe feeling bad of it, but everybody really wanted to stay in and loves the project and wishes the best, and they're staying attached to the project, but they needed their OG pass money back. So I sent it all back, and I think at one point it kind of created a little domino effect because it was one or two people then all at once. So it hurt to lose much of the liquidity pool. We lost most of it to refunds. And but I felt like it's okay. We're keep working, and we'll maybe sell the OG passes again, or maybe do it in a different way. And the different way is this: I don't want to sell more OG passes. What you guys have is great, but I don't want to give the multipliers out to folks who are not kind of really in the family, right? The OGs. Those multipliers have a chance at paying out really well, and they also hurt to give out, hurt the liquidity behind it. So I really want that kind of a win to be cared for, I guess you could say, right? It's not just something to dump. So the other way to do this without selling multipliers connected to an OG pass, I think, is a presale where there's a pinned value. It's a fixed value presale. And so the folks who buy into that don't have to care about the project. They don't have to care about anything. They just have to care about the potential of their bags. And what that looks like is, let's say our liquidity lands us at 1 cent per token. We're talking about a fixed value of maybe 10 cents per token. So you pay a premium to have that, but it's not a promise, right? We expect to fly right by the 10-cent mark, and if they do too, then they're going to enjoy a fixed low price. But there's a risk that things settle at a lower price because they've also got a vesting calendar and that kind of thing to contend with. So there's risk involved, and the reward for that risk is what would be considered a low fixed price. But to give you an idea of the strategy, I think that's going to work well. That'll land well with all the new eyes we're getting. They're not in our Discord, but we've got a lot of momentum on Twitter, and I think a lot of the newcomers, especially in the Chinese community, it's going to be a really easy thing to swallow to say, oh, there's an opportunity here to get in early on the token. And so yeah, that's the thought. That's the idea. I would love to hear all of your guys' thoughts on that. But the whole cadence, or the whole timeline here, is 2 months. 1 month of shouting from the hills, and 1 month between the pre-sale and the TGE. And the pre-sale is exactly what's going to put the liquidity back, and more, I hope, much more, than our original OG pass sale. So you guys who are the OG pass holders, you stand to have the biggest bags. And the pre-sale folks are going to put the money into the liquidity pool that maybe the investors or market maker doesn't want to give us for a while, and that I don't have in a wallet anymore because of refunds. So yeah, that's the idea. And I think we can really kill it in March because we'll do it with these steps. And the DePin will be up and running. Glasses will be out there. And I'll save glasses for the next chapter, I think, because I've got great news there. And the focuses are Star Trek and Akira. And we've got events for both. We've got people who are industry veterans who are bringing their network to bear. So yeah, I'll share that in the next video, because that should be its own video. But yeah, by March, what we're looking at is so much bullishness, because there will be glasses, there will be DePin, there will be like not just a narrative, but a really solid narrative that's backed up by very recent work. And I think I'll end it there. Okay, fair bit of rambling, but also I think I got all the really necessary stuff out. Thank you guys, and I'll see you on camera tomorrow. I think I'll shoot for tomorrow. Thank you. Bye.